It's precisely 1:15. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Catherine Pereira and read by Sabrina Zavair. First, the headlines. Minister of Justice says in Parliament that the President will not give pardon to the persons who were involved in the Easter Sunday attack. 2 more face mask rule violators positive for coronavirus. A series of health guidelines have been issued for tourists. Indian Foreign Minister met the representatives of the TNA. And in international news, Capitol Hill occupied by Trump supporters. Now the local news in detail. Minister Ali Sabri says that the President will not give pardon for anyone who's involved in the Easter Sunday attack. He also stated that legal action will be taken after filing the indictment papers as soon as the information received to the Attorney General. He made these remarks in Parliament today. Minister Professor G.L. Piris says in Parliament that measures will be taken to provide uniform materials for all schools. Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi said that all estate hospitals will be taken over by the government. The police spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana says 2 more persons who were not wearing face masks while in public have been tested positive for COVID-19. They were identified in raid antigen tests performed on 252 individuals among 523 face mask rule violators in the Western Province yesterday. The remaining 271 had been referred to PCR tests, and the results are expected to be issued soon. PCR test results of 510 more face mask rule violators are also yet to be received. DIG Rohana noted that special operations in search of individuals who fail to comply with the face mask rule while in public will continue further. As of last morning, 14 persons in total who were not wearing face masks in public had been tested positive for the virus in rapid antigen tests. A series of health guidelines for tourists has been issued. Accordingly, the Health Ministry says the tourists arriving in the country should follow the health guidelines. The ministry also explains on 7 facts regarding the PCR tests for tourists. It includes the guidelines to be followed if tourists confirmed with the infection of COVID-19. 4 guidelines have been issued when supplying the transportation for tourists. Indian Foreign Minister, who is now in Sri Lanka, Dr. S. Jayashankar, held discussions with the representatives of the Tamil National Alliance. The discussion was held at the Indian Embassy office premises. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing more on local news, the overall corona-infected persons in the country is at 46,248. The epidemiology unit says that at present, 39,023 have recovered. 219 deaths were reported. 7,006 persons are receiving treatment in hospitals. Police media spokesman DIG Ajit Rohana says another 3 isolated police areas have been released from isolation status. Accordingly, Adrupuvidya, Kotahena and Ruanwella have been released from isolation. Maligavatta, Grand Pass, Dematagoda and Kathankudi still remains under isolation. He requested the public to follow quarantine rules for their safety. A special discussion was held between the Director General of SLBC, Chandrapala Liyanage, and the Director of the Asian Region Radio Development Institute, P. Nadinasam, through video technology. The discussion was focused on the development of the radio transmission network between the 2 parties. The Director General of the SLBC also emphasized the need of expanding the cooperation through communication activities. With that, we conclude the local news. The main news story follows.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The World Health Organization says that the corona situation in Sri Lanka could be controlled. Sri Lankan representatives of the organization, Razia Penza, said that the Sri Lankan government has taken its utmost efforts to eradicate the corona pandemic. That was our main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya. Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
In Watchlight, Police Special Task Force says that a stock of ice drugs valued at 2 million rupees have been taken into custody at Pudikuduripu area. The raid was conducted by the officials of Manna Special Task of Police yesterday. That came to you in Watchlight. A bulletin of world news follows.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
From the first step you take till the time we meet, the trusted leader prioritizes you always.
All you need under one roof. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
The headlines of the world news. Capitol Hill occupied by Trump supporters. Oxford vaccine rolled out to hundreds of GP sites in England. Amazon buys its first planes to expand air network. Now the world news in detail. Supporters of President Donald Trump have stormed the Capitol building in Washington, where lawmakers were finalizing President-elect Joe Biden's victory at the ballot box. The proceedings were temporarily suspended by Congress reconvened after order was restored in the building. The mob charged past police barricades and flooded onto the balcony. They later smashed their way into the Senate chambers, the House of Representatives, and the offices of some lawmakers. The Oxford AstraZeneca COVID vaccine is being rolled out to hundreds of GP-run vaccination sites in local communities in England from today. As part of the biggest vaccination program in NHS history, the aim is to offer jabs to most care home residents by the end of January. By mid-February, the target is to vaccinate 13 million people in the top 4 priority groups. More than 700 local vaccination sites will administer the jabs. Amazon has bought its first fleet of planes as it expands its growing air freight network. The additional 11 Boeing 767-300 planes would support Amazon's growing customer base, it said. Amazon's first air operation launched in 2016, but previous planes have been leased. Experts say buying its own aircraft will allow Amazon become a credible competitor in logistics. It is significant that Amazon has purchased the aircraft as opposed to leasing carriers, as it should lead to lower overall lifetime costs, greater control over the speed, reliability, and quality of service, and accelerate its aim of cementing the brand as a genuine player in the competitive world. With that, we conclude the foreign news, the headlines of the world news once again prior to concluding. Capitol Hill occupied by Trump supporters. Oxford vaccine rolled out to hundreds of GP sites in England. Amazon buys its first planes to expand air network. With that, we conclude the world news. Development news follows.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
From the first step you take till the time we meet, the trusted leader prioritizes you always.
All you need under one roof. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
In development news, Minister of Ports and Shipping Rohita Begunawardena said that the government is planning to bring the Western Container Terminal of the Colombo Port to operational level by the end of this year. He made these remarks while addressing the Parliament yesterday. Minister Begunawardena said within the government's ruling period, its objective is to bring 6 terminals of the Colombo ports to operational level. He said that this shall be the legacy of the government formed by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. That was development news. Next up is the sports news. Taking a look at the sports news, Sri Lankan team who toured South Africa is scheduled to arrive in the country tomorrow. The players who were injured will not participate for the match to be played with England team. Several players have been included for the Sri Lanka reserve for the Test series to be played with England. Meanwhile, the England team is being engaged with training sessions at the Hambantota playground. That was sports news. The business news follows. In business news, a leading stockbroking firm, Asia Securities Private Limited, maintained that all signs point to a strong GDP growth trajectory in 2021. The latest economic outlook report titled Balancing the Priorities. The new normal forecasts a GDP growth of 5.4% for 2021, driven by improved investor sentiment and consumer demand, an accommodative monetary policy environment, and a pickup in global demand. That was business news.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Congratulations on your promotion. It will be our treat, huh?
How about today?
Oh no, I was just joking.
It's fine. I have my LOLC credit card with me. Let's go out today.
Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
The COVID-19 pandemic has caused deep output losses and contributed to a sharp rise in poverty and unemployment in South Asia, the World Bank says in its January 2021 Global Economic Prospects. The output in the region contracted by an estimated 6.7% in 2020, reflecting the effects of the pandemic and nationwide lockdowns, particularly in Bangladesh and India. Activity rebounded in the second half of last year, led by industrial production as initial stringent lockdowns were eased. Output is estimated to contract by 9.6% in fiscal year 2020 and 21, reflecting a sharp drop in household spending and private investment. That ends economic news.
Hello, Puta. Did you land already?
No, Amma. We're in transit and our flight got delayed.
Oh, really? How is Shani? Poor thing with her pregnancy. She might be feeling very uncomfortable. The airport must be heavily crowded because it's a season.
Amma, calm down. Everything is sorted. Why, I have my LOLC World Card with me. We are at the VIP lounge. There's nothing to worry.
Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Finally, it's a look at the weather report. The Met Department says showers or thunder showers will occur in northern, eastern, north central, central and Uva provinces. Fairly heavy showers above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places in central and Uva provinces and in Polonnaruwa district. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places elsewhere after 1 p.m. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters can be expected at some places in Sabaragamuwa, western and northwestern provinces and in Galle and Matara districts. That was the weather report. Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again. Minister of Justice says in Parliament that the President will not give pardon to the persons who were involved in the Easter Sunday attack. 2 more face mask rule violators positive for coronavirus. A series of health guidelines have been issued for tourists. Indian Foreign Minister met the representatives of the TNA. With that, we conclude the news.